Iran blocks SpaceX's Starlink internet connectivity. Iran is in a tough spot right now as the country is currently in its third week of the Islamic nation's authorities cut off the internet access for many of its citizens after widespread protests over the death of a 22-year-old woman in police custody. Naturally, Elon Musk had to come to the rescue and deployed his satellite-based Starlink service in the country. But is Starlink banned by the regime, and can Starlink really help the protesters? Here's everything you need to know. So, on the 21st of September, Iranian authorities had to cut off internet access for many of its citizens after widespread protests over the death of a 22-year-old woman, Mahsa Amini, in police custody. According to various reports, now supporter of free speech and multi-billionaire CEO of SpaceX and Tesla, Elon Musk, offered to help the protesters fight for their rights after internet access was banned from the country. Musk indicated that he will make Starlink available in Iran. Earlier, U.S. State Secretary Anthony Blinken had announced on Twitter about advancing internet freedom and the free flow of information for the Iranian people by issuing a general license to provide them greater access to digital communications to counter. Replying to Blinken's tweet, Musk wrote, "Activating Starlink." Musk made a promise to allow Iranians affected by state-imposed internet restrictions to use his satellite internet network operated by SpaceX. Also, the United States government said it would support his efforts by ceasing its sanctions on Iran by promoting the free use of the internet and issuing the necessary permits to make the process work. But while bringing the internet to Iran via a satellite link is not out of the question, a set of serious challenges made it highly improbable, at least in the short term. There have been over 10 nights of protests so far, which began after the 22-year-old Kurdish woman died during custody of Iran's morality police. The woman initially went into a coma and died a few days later. Following this, there were riots as people gathered in the streets to protest. The authorities have not released official tallies, but protests have been recorded in most of Iran's 31 provinces, and dozens are thought to have been killed, with thousands arrested. Senior officials, including President Ibrahim Raisi, and state media have denounced what they have called riots, as several police officers, security forces, and members of the paramilitary Basij force have been killed, and public property damaged. There have been also 2 pro-establishment rallies so far, on September 30th and on October 1st, to counter the protests, as authorities also blame terrorist groups for trying to work towards secessionist goals. Citing security concerns, authorities have introduced the tightest internet restrictions across Iran since the November 2019 protests. You can probably guess that in such hostile scenarios, installing Starlink at least on the ground seems impossible. Let's take a look at what Starlink needs in order to work. So, in addition to a subscription service, Starlink terminals, hardware that would allow the users to connect, are required to link up. Starlink has reportedly sent more than 15,000 terminals to Ukraine, a US ally, after Russia's invasions in February. But Iran views the Starlink terminals as a security threat and will prevent their entry into the country. This is considering Starlink provider SpaceX is a private company. Anyway, in order for Starlink to work, thousands of Starlink terminals would need to be smuggled into Iran at a significant cost, probably in the region of a few $1,000,000. The Iranian Foreign Ministry last week also called the US's revoking of some of its internet-related sanctions an effort towards violating Iran's sovereignty. It said it would take immediate action. The government of Iran has also blocked SpaceX's Starlink website following Elon Musk's response of activating Starlink for Iranians. Iran International said this on Twitter. Yesterday, Elon Musk announced that he was activating Starlink as a response to U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken's tweet announcing that a general license to provide the Iranian people with internet was issued. News of Starlink's activations has circulated wide and far among Iranians, many of whom have pinned their hopes on the service. But so far, the only tangible results has been hackers who publish malware under the guise of software required to connect to Starlink in order to dupe users. Starlink could potentially face legal and regulatory ramifications if it were to meaningfully advance its plans without the cooperation of the Iranian government. Iran has had a history of legally pursuing grievances with Western powers, namely concerning the US and its wide-reaching sanctions. It is possible that if Starlink's plan do actually move ahead, Iran could turn to the International Telecommunications Union. Jadi, a prominent Iranian developer and tech blogger, explained in a tweet saying, "The issue is that a company probably can offer services over Iran by violating international regulations. It's possible the Islamic Republic will file a credible complaint against the company and create problems for it. So, Elon Musk's attempt at activating Starlink in Iran are just not impossible." They could also have possible ramifications for the private space company and the United States. Well, that's all for this video. Hope you found this video informative. Thanks for